We have a surprising Cowboys trade incoming, as after the injury to wide receiver one CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys have now been in a new report labeled as a top target for this former first-round pick. We'll tell you who this guy is and the latest on the Cowboys trade rumors right here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. Had a little bit of a break over the past week. I actually got engaged and had a couple different things going on, but happy to be back and happy to be on the show, pumping out videos. So if you are new here looking for Cowboys content, we got you covered. Go down there, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Of course, we got our Week 4 trade block big board from Bleacher Report, and as per usual, the Cowboys were listed as a couple of different options. We're going to focus in on one of those in today's video specifically because I found him very, very interesting. That option is Xavier Legette. He was a first-round pick last year, in fact, the last pick in the first round last year by the Carolina Panthers, and already he's being placed across trade big boards because it really hasn't been a good tenure in Carolina, and now that Bryce Young has Trevon McMillan, there's not really a need for Xavier Legette, so let's talk about him. First, we have to look at his stats last season just to see why exactly he's on the big board, and you can see pretty quickly why last year wasn't exactly the greatest, and this year already not off to a hot start. Seems like he's going to be in a sophomore slump from what was a rookie year slump, which is not a good thing to have. Last year, he played in 16 games, had 84 targets, but only caught 49 of them for 524 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, the Carolina Panthers are not a good football team, and that, I think, is partially the fact to blame about his lack of production and lack of, well, let's just say being a good wide receiver in the NFL. But I think there are other possibilities out there as to why it's not worked out. I personally don't believe Bryce Young is that great of a quarterback. He makes some good throws, but in terms of the way Xavier Legette plays, I don't think it works out with Bryce Young's stature and all that. So let's go to Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report, kind of talking about this and work our way through the report. We start here with this, saying, quote, Legette has also experienced a sophomore slump, which is significant because he wasn't particularly impressive as a rookie. The Panthers used a first-round pick on the South Carolina product, but they might be talked into moving him, end quote. So that's where we have to start here with him. So knowing that CeeDee Lamb is going to be out for, at this point, at least the next 3 weeks, there was talk about putting him on the IR. That has not been fully put on there yet, but it's still not out of the question until Sunday would be my thought process. However, the closer we get to Sunday, the more likely that he's probably not going to go on IR. With that being said, though, you kind of want to have some sort of option, and if this is a decent one out there, I wouldn't mind going out there and trying to make the trade. With all that being said, though, I don't know that he is the right option, but I wanted to make a video on it because I find it so interesting that the Cowboys were listed as the top target for him to land with, and I think that was listed for a couple of different reasons. One, because the way he plays, I actually do kind of think fits with the Dallas Cowboys. Here are his stats for this year: 2 games, 4 receptions on 15 targets for 8 yards. Personally, again, I've said my opinion on Bryce Young, and I'll say it again, I do not think he is a good quarterback. And 4 receptions on 15 targets is quite abysmal. Yes, some of those are drops. His drop rate isn't exactly the greatest in the NFL, but some of the throws that I'm watching that they're labeling as drop when you watch film, I would argue it's more of a bad throw by Bryce Young than in part to Xavier Legette. Now, Trevon McMillan for them has been great, so they don't really need that. And 8 yards for a guy who was a first-round pick not a year ago is not something you want to see. So, what would the Cowboys do with him, I think, is the question we have to ask. And so it's an interesting one that we look for the Cowboys. But funny enough, for the Panthers' sake, their best game was when he was out of the lineup. He actually missed Week 3, and here is the quote. It may not be a coincidence that Carolina had its best game of the season, a 30-0 romp over the Atlanta Falcons with Legette out of the lineup. The big thing that I look at is his college stats and why I think he would fit well with the Dallas Cowboys. It's bad for me when I see a wide receiver that was in college for 5 years and the only year that was good was his final season that got him to the NFL, which was Xavier Legette, 71 receptions in his final year. He had a better quarterback in his senior season, way better than what he had in his previous 4 years. Had over 1,200 yards that year on a 17.7 average and 7 touchdowns. So I think there's a way to talk about it and say, when you have that last year that's good and not the past previous 4, it's definitely something I'm mentioning. But when you have a good of a last year as Xavier Legette had, I think we can kind of forget about the past couple of years. So why exactly does he work with the Cowboys? Well, to me, he kind of reminds me of a George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb hybrid type. So we all know that Pickens is a deep ball threat. He's going to go down the field. He can make work, especially in red zone area, and it works, and that's not saying he can't do that. But if you look at the, let's say, prototypes of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, CD is definitely, I'm going to take the ball under. I'm going to go deep at times, but I'm going to take the ball under. I'm going to use my agility and work my way downfield with that. Whereas CD, or as George Pickens, I think is more of a deep ball threat. Legette can kind of do both. I think his agility is good. He's a very big guy for a wide receiver, and I think it's something that's not mentioned as much, which is exactly what Christopher Knox says in his report, saying, while Legette's tape isn't great, he's still a physically impressive 6'3", 227-pound pass catcher with an intriguing amount of upside. His trade value would be buoyed by his first-round rookie contract. So, the hybrid type, I think, fits. I think it would work well with the Dallas Cowboys. And even when CeeDee Lamb comes back, I personally am kind of in the boat that I know everybody's saying Jonathan Mingo is going to come back. Jonathan Mingo is going to come back. Was he really that good last year? Was he really? And I know you can make the same case. Well, we got him from the Panthers. What's to say Xavier's not going to work out the same way? And I get that, but Jonathan Mingo to me is just, I don't want to say he's going to come back and be great. I think he can be good, and I think there's a lot of upside to him, but I am a little concerned with that. And if the Cowboys truly believe what Jerry Jones continues to say, that they are a playoff team, then they might even start making some playoff moves here, especially if this week does not go well. I mean, you go 1-3. There's a lot of questions to be asked after that, especially given, I would say, the hype around everything. So with all that being said, I have a final argument coming up, but I want to ask your opinion first. Would you like to trade for Legette? If you think you would, I want you to type T for trade. If you think, no, I'm good, I'm going to pass on this, I think he's not worth it, I don't think that pick, I think there's no reason to go get it, then type P for pass. By the way, in Bleacher Report's article, they suggested that it'd be a conditional third-round pick. I know the Cowboys don't exactly have that right now, but there's other ways to get around that. I think it's by a bigger point. So T for trade, P for pass. Would you make a trade for Legette? Let me know in the comment section down below. I think I'm going to trade. I think I'm going to go make it. I think it's an interesting one for sure, and the PFF grade is legit abysmal. Like, he is the worst wide receiver PFF-wise in the entire NFL. 79 out of 79 wide receivers had a 48.8 PFF grade, but there's a lot of upside. He is a first-round guy last year. I think in some ways, if you are Jerry Jones and you don't want to sign George Pickens, and that we saw the anger issues somewhat come back this past week, I think Legette could be a very good option to have. You'd have him for the next 2 years after this year, so that'd be a good trade in my mind for longevity in a lot of pieces. I think he fits the bill for what the Cowboys are somewhat looking for in that wide receiver room, and I just think it might actually be a decent move to go out there and make it. So there's other options in the wide receiver room. I think the other options are way more expensive and way more risky in some ways. I just think because you're going to be giving up more, in my opinion. We'll talk about those wide receiver options in a later video, but wanted to talk about Legette because I think he's such an intriguing character, especially in this season, and I truly do think he will be moved, and the Cowboys, I would not be surprised if they put their hat in there. So we'll have to see what happens, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on exactly Xavier Legette and what you think he'd be a good deal or not. But for now, that's what we got for you. We appreciate you. We'll have more videos out in the next coming days, and we'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. Peace out, guys.